When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gane, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gane.
And this week, we're going to be talking about feeling.
Which is the F in manifest of Manifest It Now, like using it, doing LOA.
LOA way?
Yeah. LOA, the Manifest It Now way.
Yeah. Feelings are so essential, obviously, to manifesting. And we're going to talk all about feeling your feelings, all that juicy stuff you guys love to do.
Yeah, that you hope, if you're in either of our groups, I'm sure that you love when we say feel your feelings.
And you're like, oh, God, again.
That's exactly some of my clients' reaction.
Yeah. I love it. What are you excited about, Cass?
I'm excited about my first abundance facilitator who has her clients, and it's up and running and people are manifesting money, and it is so fun to watch her get to have that experience. Yeah. You
nailed it. It's the excitement comes from witnessing them have that experience.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really cool because it's not about the stuff in this way. It's fun to see them get the stuff and the money coming in and stuff. But knowing they are having that experience, having had it yourself, and it's the best.
It is. Because those experiences are what lead to better experiences. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. And more, not better in a, those aren't good enough, but the more, they open to more and more and more because they're just the foundation.
Yeah, that better word is tricky.
Yeah.
Because we want more, we want better, but we also are not wanting to acknowledge where we are as bad in any way.
Yeah. I love it. What are you excited about?
I'm excited about getting to spend some time with members of our tribe and the women there, and I just feel so grateful and honored of this community that we've created, and I love it. It's been my dream to when I travel around, I get to meet people here, and there's just an extra special connection when we're sitting around chatting, and the conversation you and I have talked about is just, it's real, it's deeper, and it's so fulfilling. It's it's that nourishing, uplifting conversation. So I love that I get to be a part of that and experience that.
Yeah, I just had a flashback to our first, actually it was our second Manifest It Now live, where the person who joined us in the VIP part was I've never had a conversation that was all about that depth and just staying in what's amazing.
Yeah, that was the whole evening.
Yeah.
Oh my, I'm just kind of realizing that now. It's just so normal.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that feels exciting.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right. So what do you think when we say feelings and we said this was the topic, what do you think our listeners immediately think we mean by that, or think that means when it comes to LOA?
Yeah, LOA and manifesting, and we talk about feelings, I think the first thing people think of is I have to feel happy all the time. I have to feel good all the time, and when I feel good, I'm doing it right and I'm being successful. And if I'm not, I'm doing it wrong.
And I'm never going to manifest anything.
Yeah, I'm not doing good, and I'm not going to manifest anything if I can't just feel good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just bust it open.
Yeah.
That is not the most powerful way to look at that.
It is not the most powerful way. And I think that's the biggest way people get this wrong.
Yeah.
Is that they try to wrangle themselves into being happy. And that doesn't, so many levels of what you're doing energetically there, trying to push happy, make it happen, push away from whatever you're feeling, right? That's not happy. And you're not creating in that space, and you're not making it easier to manifest if you're pushing against any feeling to try and be happy.
Yeah. And if you start to pay attention to this, if you've been practicing your awareness, you might start to catch. I do this all the time, like any uncomfortable feeling, and I was like, gotta feel better. Like it's my second thought. Oh, you feel upset? Oh, you can feel better. Like it was the reaction of what I thought was the right way to do this. And so I think trying to feel better too soon, even trying to feel differently, or better right away, is one of the biggest ways we get we get this wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not letting yourself feel the feelings, right?
Yeah.
It is that exactly what you just said that you used to do. Notice it. Oh, I got to change it.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of feel it.
Yes. So, and then let's talk here about too a little bit one of how we get this wrong if we're using the emotional scale, right? So this is one of the biggest places this come from is Abraham Hicks material. They give you this emotional scale that goes from grief or the bottom, guilt, grief, fear, to the top of love and joy. And so we automatically, some part of our human brain is like the bottom is bad and the top is good. And so we want you to switch that right now, immediately. Get away from assigning positive is good, negative is bad. But yeah, so the emotional scale, one of the ways that we kind of use this wrongly, right, is to try to move up it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that this is another way that I didn't know because, I haven't studied Abraham, so I don't actually know what the scale is. But when you say grief is at the bottom, this explains a lot, because a lot of times when people are experiencing grief, and that is the biggest resistance to feeling.
Right.
If someone in their life has died that is significant,
Yeah.
I have literally had to coach people no, you feel your grief. You're not messing up your manifesting by grieving.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Just while we're on that, let's highlight that again. Feeling your feelings is the path.
Yes.
That's the way. I think one of the biggest things is it is the way, feeling your feelings is the way up the scale, but trying to get there or trying to manage this process that's not our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or telling the story that, if I'm in, one of these feelings that happens to be at the bottom of this,
right,
I'm not able to manifest.
Yeah.
Then you're creating that inability to manifest in that, when really we're going to get further into this, but here's the secret. The more you feel, the more you manifest.
Yeah. Period.
Feel, period. Not feel happy. Feel.
I'm just soaking that in. It's so, so true. Mm-hmm. And the way I talk about that is when we're feeling, we are allowing, our energy is open. And when we're trying, we are resisting. When we're trying to think of a different thought, or we're trying to even reach for a different feeling, we are in resistance. We're trying to control the process, and feeling is really opening the space to allow what's natural for us to come through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the story versus the feeling here?
Yeah. So a lot of times, people get stuck in this story. I feel sad, or generally upset. I'm going to use the one you used before we start recording. Upset, instead of identifying, so if you're upset, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling angry? They get stuck in this story. I'm upset that blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm upset is not I feel.
Yes.
And if you're speaking it, you're not feeling it. Yeah.
I think sometimes we even group these together, just like you said. So in that example, when we say we're upset because blah, 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 we're in the story, but we think I'm upset is acknowledging our feelings. But it's not.
It's not.
You're in the story of that. Just like Cass said, upset isn't a feeling. You can go deeper and identify the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even just bringing an awareness to that part, am I in the story or am I in the feeling, is going to open up this next level of actually learning to feel your feelings.
Yeah. And we're going to talk more about that as we move through this episode. Like, what does that actually look like and what does that mean?
Yeah.
Because this isn't something that most people, I think we actually are born knowing how to do it, but it gets very quickly trained out of us.
Yeah, kids know how to have a tantrum.
Oh yeah, they know how to feel it, and
then
there's
let it go,
and then let it go, right?
Yeah.
And the reason it's so interesting because I think a lot of adults judge, and I've heard this, like, oh, well, you were upset 1 second and then you were fine. They judge that to mean, oh, you weren't sad or you weren't angry, and it's the opposite.
Oh my God, yeah.
They let themselves feel it, and then it could be over, and they can go back to happily playing.
Yeah.
Focusing on the next thing that they want. It's not that they weren't sad or they weren't frustrated or they weren't angry.
Yeah.
It's that they felt the feeling without stopping it, talking about it, thinking about it, by throwing that tantrum, by, going and screaming and kicking or crying, whatever it is. And now they're free to open and create the next thing.
Yeah. I love this kind of cue for if you are judging someone who seems to have moved on from something, from whatever it is, too quickly for your liking, to stop and ask yourself, like, am I the one that needs this to be dramatic? Am I one bringing drama into this and thinking they need to feel a certain way, or maybe they just processed it and moved on? Like, that might be what happened. I always remember a story from Eckhart. It's not a story, but an example of how when ducks get in a fight, so they'll 1 second be at each other's necks and quacking and squawking and really, really loud, and then they'll go apart when they're done, and they will always flap their wings. They'll always flap them really and release that energy, and that's how they're feeling those feelings. So it's not quite the same, but it's energy, right? So we can do the same and then move on and move forward.
Yeah. And here's secret number 2 of this episode on feelings. If you act, the better you get at feeling your feelings and letting them flow, the quicker they flow. You don't have to stay feeling them for days. The reason when you start this process, and lots of my clients have experienced this, it lasts for days, is because you're only partly feeling and the other part is resisting. When you get to this place and you master this allowing of your feelings, it can literally be 30 seconds.
Yeah. It does get a lot quicker. Yeah. So how do you think this idea around feeling your feelings or not feeling your feelings impacts people's LOA success?
The biggest way is them making up the story that it won't work if I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And not understanding that feeling the feelings is the path to what you want.
Yeah. I just love the simplicity of how you said it earlier. The more you feel, the more you manifest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not feeling, I don't want to say, I want to go.
Well, we can say that. And then the more you resist, the less you manifest.
Yes.
Right?
Which
Or the
that's
less
how
you
it
feel,
works.
the less you manifest. Because if you're resisting, you're not feeling.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. So how would you define it, Cass? How would you define feeling your feelings?
Feel your feelings. So it's allowing that emotion to be fully present in your body and the energy of it to flow through you.
Yes, that open channel. And yeah, that's how I say it too. Be present with your emotions. So one of the kind of a key or what's that word? Something to pay attention to when you're feeling your feelings is you're not thinking about it. It's different than thinking about your feelings. It's just feeling them. So there's no thoughts, there's no words. It's just you're kind of focusing your awareness inside your body, on the energy inside your body. That's the best way I can describe it.
Wherever it is, however it wants to come out.
Yeah.
And there's no words. So no thoughts, there's no thinking, there's no talking.
There's no plan.
Yeah, there's no plan, there's no
there's no time.
Yeah, analyzing it.
Yes.
There's no nothing. There literally no words. If you are purely feeling, which takes practice.
Yeah.
If you are purely feeling, there are no words involved at all.
Yeah.
Whether they're in your head or coming out of your mouth, there's no words.
Yeah. And it reminds me a lot of like meditating, because like your mind always wants to jump in.
Yeah.
And you just practice that space of letting that go, like let that go, come back to that center point. And I remember one of the first times I really felt this or had this experience, I was just like sitting in a chair and, I could watch my mind go like, oh, go do this, like wanting to get away. And I'm like, I think you need to feel this. And it was like, and like, there's the part that wants to judge, like you're not doing anything. What is it? Just sit here and do nothing. And so that was at the beginning. Now it's like, so now I love that time. Yeah. But there's a process. So what about like, do you have a story, Cass, about when you had to feel your feelings?
When it comes to money?
Yeah, when it comes to money.
I think there's so many times, right? And it's generally...
We have a lot of feelings about money.
We do.
A lot of stories.
We have a lot of stories. We have a lot of feelings. We have layers of what those stories mean.
That's cool. Acknowledging the layers of it.
Yeah. And so it's funny, I'm like remembering too, like something similar to your story, but anytime that I've made an investment, and I think it really goes back, one of the first times that I probably felt my feelings to get this clarity is I talked about pushing in a previous episode to get a house to flip with my sister. By the time that was over, like she decided she just didn't want anything to do with it. So I took it over. Like, it's literally what happened. And so I had a lot of feelings to feel. Like, how am I going to...
feelings about that.
Yeah, I had a lot of feelings about that. But I also, in the money sense of, okay, like, if this is what I can rent it for, but this is the payment, like, I have to feel the feelings, the fear that it's not going to work out, the sadness that I made a mistake, right? And it's okay. I believe it's okay in that moment for me to have been like, I made a mistake. And I do. Like, I'm not a person, I'm okay. Yeah. I don't believe everything has to serve us or that all decisions are right. I know Ginny and I are a little bit different in this. Like,
but I totally agree with that. Like honoring where you're at. You can't convince yourself, if it feels like a mistake, you can't convince your mind out of that.
Yes.
You have to feel it first.
You have to feel it, and you have to be there, and you have to be okay. And so while I learned and I'm okay with it, I would still, looking back on the energy of it and what I do with money, like, that was a push decision. It was it's not a mistake I need to judge. I think that's the other thing that gets wrapped up in a mistake. I can see a mistake as more of a fact.
Yeah.
Than because I felt the feelings around. Like, that was not a great choice. Yeah. It wasn't inspired. It was pushed. It was all the things that I don't want to make choices with money for. But I had to feel that I made a mistake. I thought something would work. It's not working out. All of the things about that, and all the choices that came in between. I had to feel all of those to make space for a solution to show up.
Yeah. I think that's really a great example of how when that honoring a mistake or acknowledging a mistake can feel empowering or disempowering. And if there's any sort of blame in there. So if you are looking at your past and thinking of a mistake, to take that approach of like remove the judgment and there's no blame, and then that process can be empowering for you. It can create that space. Yeah, that's cool.
How about you? When did you have to feel your feelings with money?
So most recently. This doesn't end, guys.
It doesn't. And I love this story because I did the same thing like 6 months ago. So or we did. It was a joint effort. It was a joint oopsie.
Yeah. So I have accounts in the US and Canada, and different payments come out of different ones automatically. And so with my Canadian account, I keep only as much money as the account needs to have. And so for some reason, I had miscalculated by $10. So when the payment came out, it was like, oh, overdraft. And then there was a $45 charge because of that. And I like opened that and I saw this and I'm like, my reaction was like, oh God. And like, it wasn't like you did it again, but there was that feeling of like failure or wrongness, or just, it starts with like the tension or that energy, that negative energy. And then, so I had to I'm really good now at catching it and being like, okay, great. This is for you. Like, you get to step back. And so I'm like, okay, what is the feeling here? And it was like a disappointment feeling, like, and it's something like some sort of failure. And I just felt it. And I really realized, like, this is actually a story I heard growing up about not having money and then having this exact thing happen. And I'm like, oh, like, this necessarily isn't even mine. Like, and so as soon as I had that awareness, which came after I felt, okay, so when we feel a feeling, we open up space and then we have a new thought come in because of that, or a new level of awareness. And then that awareness took me even more kind of step back from it. Like, it wasn't mine. Like, I didn't feel attached to it, to the scenario, in a new way. And so now I'm feeling more and more free about this. And then it became just information, right? So then the experience became, oh, this isn't bad. This is just something that happened.
Right. And now I know that, like,
now I know to put $10 more in.
I can choose to pay attention, or I can choose to put a buffer, or, you know what I mean? Like,
which is what I did with
choices.
joy. I'm like, okay, great. So let's just up this a little bit just in case for whoever knows what.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And that felt good. And it's good to make that decision moving forward from that place of, what I want, versus then feeling like I have to because this always happens, or that like victim place. Right. And so one of the big things that happens as you feel your feeling is you don't then carry forward. If you're feeling it in the moment, you're not carrying forward that past pain, right? And so you get to then create something new in your next experience, versus just creating from that place of like, I always make these mistakes, or that fear of money, or fear of failure around money or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So what we want you to do now is think of a time that you felt your feelings.
What did it feel like? What did it feel like to feel your feelings? Or maybe you never have, and that's fine. Or you can't, like, think of a time where you have felt your feelings around money, around receiving something, or like receiving money, whether that's from a job or from a gift, or spending money, investing money in something big or small. Like, just think of different times in your life and see if you had any sort of awareness and felt your feelings.
Yeah. And if you haven't, that's okay. Like, that awareness. It is not uncommon when people start working with me. Like, I don't think I've ever done this fully, or I don't know what I'm doing. And so just that awareness that I've never sat there and just let my emotions flow is the start, because that's okay. That's where I'm going for. Like, just opens up this unconscious how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about this a little bit. So, like, how can we give guidance on the process of generally feeling your feelings? Like, how do you do it?
So you let your feelings come. You don't talk. Like, you're not talking to someone or yourself or letting those thoughts. Again, it's no words. So you're not talking inside your head either, right? And you allow them to come until it's over.
And it's okay to take a break.
Yes. I always tell if it's too much because it's new, like, you can get up and go for a walk. You can consciously say, like, enough. Like, I've done this for, it could even just be a minute. Like, okay, that was intense. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go do something else. And when you consciously take a break, you're saying, okay, I know there's more to feel. You're not blocking it. You're just not doing it in the moment. And one of the other things that I will tell my clients is, because sometimes it's not convenient.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Like, let's use the overdraft account. If you're at work, and you do that, like, and you pick up your account, and you're like, oh God, and you have like feelings to feel. Yeah, you have a call
in 5 minutes,
right? Or you have people walking in your office, or whatever. You can be like, all right, I'm gonna feel
Save
this
it later
when I get home.
Yeah.
Right?
Or on the drive home. Or
or on the drive home, or consciously tell yourself, like, okay, 6:00 tonight is feeling the feelings time for this,
Yeah.
Because it allows that space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think one of the questions that comes up a lot with this is people start to, like, they try to do it, try to hold the space, then they're like, I don't get it. How do you do it? But how do you do it? And if you're asking that question, the answer's going to come through your practice. Just keep opening the space for it. Like, just keep doing what we're saying, which is be as out of your head as possible, bring your awareness into your body and let it be what it's going to be.
And allow it to flow.
Yeah. Okay, so the next part we want you guys to do is we want you to write your own definition of what it means to feel when you're using LOA, with on the subject of money. So what does it mean to feel your feelings around money?
Yeah, so think about that in your head, write it down if you can. And when you have that definition, one of the ways you're going to take this forward and practice it is to just set an alarm for one time a day for 7 days. Remember, like we talked about. And when that alarm goes off, just become aware of how you feel in that moment. Like,
that's your
whatever
practice.
It is, that's it. Just building that awareness.
Yep. And then we want to leave you with our powerful statement. So this is something you are stepping into and acknowledging for the next 7 days is, I know that when I feel my feelings, it opens space for what I want.
Yes, I'll say it again. I know that when I feel my feelings, it opens space for what I want.
Awesome. And I'm excited for our bonus too for this episode, because we're going to be talking about how for both of us, when we felt the most feelings we ever have, we made the most money we ever have.
Yes. I'm so excited because I love this. I love where we are. I'm excited to tell those stories.
Yeah.
And we'll also talk about how being vulnerable leads to more money in our bonuses. So
awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next week. Hey, it's Ginny. Cass and I talk a lot about alignment being essential to manifesting. So if you're curious how to measure your own level of alignment, I created a quiz for you. Pop over to my website at ginnygane.com. That's GINNYGANE.com and check it out. Oh, and definitely have fun with it.
Go be awesome! Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.